Everyone has heard of Rome, but not many know much about it. It was a great empire known for its historical advancements in infrastructure like the Colosseum, trade with the barter system, military to protect trade routes, art with famous sculptures that stand tall to this day, and literature with the invention of the Codex, which is the original form of a modern book. But what is the origin story of this great Androcentric fallen empire? Well, that's exactly what we will be discussing in today's video, the origin of Rome. Our story begins in Alba Longa, located in Italy. The founder of Rome, Romulus, and his brother Remus were born roughly around 771 BC. Legend has it that their mother, Rhea Silvia, was forcefully impregnated by Mars, the Roman god of war and agriculture. Mars is one of the main gods of Rome. The other was Jupiter, the king of the Roman gods and the god of the sky and thunder. Rhea Silvia's uncle, King Amulius, forced her to become a Vestal virgin. So when the twins Romulus and Remus were born, King Amulius exiled them and ordered them to be drowned. A servant helped them escape through placing them in a basket before floating them down a river, where they would come to rest near a sacred fig tree. Their father Mars chose a nearby she-wolf to care for his sons and influenced her towards the basket. The she-wolf would nurse Romulus and Remus until they were discovered by a shepherd named Faustulus, who would adopt the twins with his wife Acca Laurentia. Faustulus would name them Romulus and Remus. The twins were raised to be shepherds but became famous for their fighting and leadership skills. Romulus and Remus would eventually become leaders of a band of shepherds and outcasts of the area. As young adults, Romulus and Remus would get into a fight during the Lupercal Festival, a festival promoting health and fertility. Remus was kidnapped during the festival by men who worked for King Amulius. King Amulius commanded Remus to be sent to his brother Numitor for judgment. Numitor could not help but see his daughter Rhea Silvia in Remus's eyes. In that moment, Romulus came barging in to save his brother. Numitor explained to his grandsons their true identity. He also explained to them how he was meant to be the rightful king of Alba Longa, as he was born the first son of the previous king, King Procus. Amulius would murder the sons of his brother, Numitor, sparing only his daughter, Rhea Silvia, and would overthrow Numitor to become the king of Alba Longa. After Romulus and Remus learned of this, they seek revenge on King Amulius. Low in numbers, they could not attack head-on. They knew they needed a plan. Romulus and Remus, along with their band of outcasts, attacked the guards of Amulius using stealth as their tactic of choice. Romulus and Remus held King Amulius at sword point before brutally murdering him in honor of their grandfather. Romulus and Remus would successfully reinstate Numitor as the rightful king of Alba Longa. Being the grandsons of King Numitor, Romulus and Remus were next in line to rule over Alba Longa, but eager for power, they decided to leave in search of their own kingdom, and thus began their quest to found one of the greatest androcentric empires in human history. Romulus and Remus decided to start their settlement on the banks of the Tiber River, where they were found by the she-wolf. Everything went smoothly until the brothers began to argue on who would rule over the settlement. In ancient times, signs from the gods were seen in nature, so it was decided they would let nature decide their fate. Romulus stood on Palatine Hill, and Remus on Aventine Hill. Remus saw the sign of 6 vultures, while Romulus saw 12. They both would claim to have won. With the help of his outcasts, Romulus began to build his wall on the Palatine Hill. This angered Remus, and so he jumped over the wall, claiming his defenses were weak. In retaliation, Romulus killed his own brother and told his band of misfits that anyone who opposed him would suffer the same fate. Romulus welcomed anyone to establish a population in his kingdom, from criminals to runaway slaves. Romulus would name his empire Rome after himself. Romulus began to establish institutions for military, social, and political systems to help build the foundation of Rome. He crowned himself king of Rome and set laws in place and appointed 100 senators to help govern his new kingdom. Since Rome was located on the banks of the Tiber River among the 7 hills, it made Rome a natural hub for commerce. Romulus expanded the walls as the kingdom grew. Romulus soon realized there was a lack of women, which meant there was no way to sustain the population. King Romulus sent emissaries to many neighboring kingdoms and requested women who were willing to join Rome. They all refused, which left Rome no choice but to take them by force. King Romulus devised a plan and invited the Sabines to the Consuelia festival. The Sabines were from a large neighboring kingdom and brought plenty of women to the drunken festivity. At Romulus' signal, they kidnapped the women and took them into their homes. King Romulus took the daughter of the king of the Sabines, King Titus. The Sabines were outraged but drunk. They were not ready for war. They swore revenge on the Romans. The Sabines would request for their women back, but the Romans declined, claiming that they had the right to reproduce and that it was unjust of their neighbors to deny this human right. The Romans told the Sabines that they would treat the women well and had no need to worry. This did not sit well with the Sabines, and they prepared for war against the Romans. The Romans would marry and impregnate their captured women. King Romulus would marry Hersilia, the daughter of King Titus. All of the women accepted their fate and grew attached to their beloved husband. Shortly thereafter, the Sabines, led by King Titus, declared war and attacked the Romans. All hell had broken loose. The fight went well for the Romans until their chief general was killed. With no direction in the war from their chief, the Romans began to lose. In a fury of desperation, King Romulus called upon the god Jupiter to lend him his strength, promising him that a great temple would be built in honor of him. King Romulus shouted to his men that Jupiter commanded they attacked head-on with all their might. This turned the tables around and the Romans began slaughtering the Sabines. The wives of the Romans couldn't handle seeing the brutality of the war any longer and stood between the two armies. Hersilia pleaded to her husband that she would rather die than see her husband and father continue this onslaught. The Romans and Sabines respected the wish of the women and lowered their swords. They agreed to a truce and both kingdoms formed an alliance, but under the rule of Rome, thus creating a strong empire. Rome would continue fighting wars against all the opposition and would be victorious in all of them. Under the legendary King Romulus, Rome enjoyed years of peace and harmony. One day while Romulus reviewed his army, a thunderstorm erupted upon them. A cloud took Romulus and ascended him into the skies. When the storm passed, Romulus was nowhere to be found. It is said that Romulus became the Roman god Quirinus, the god of war, and would be worshipped as such for centuries to come. Now that, my brothers, is some brutal history. If this video interested you in any way, make sure to like and subscribe and share this video. Also make sure to research more Androcentric history. Thank you for watching.